You think the world is fair, don't you? You walk around believing that if you do the right thing, if you keep your head down, if you play by the rules, everything will fall into place. But it won't. It never does. The ones who win aren't the ones who play fair. They're the ones who twist the rules, rewrite them, set the board on fire, and laugh while everyone else scrambles for the ashes. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you stop being another pawn waiting for permission to move. You were taught to wait your turn, weren't you? Taught that if you're patient, if you endure, if you smile through the pain, one day you'll be rewarded. But where's the reward? Where's the justice? I'll tell you, we're buried 6 feet under with everyone else who thought patience was a virtue. The world doesn't hand out prizes for suffering. It doesn't care how much you've endured. You think your scars make you worthy? No, they make you prey. They make you something to be picked apart, devoured, discarded. And you keep letting them feast on you, keep handing yourself over like an offering, hoping that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. But it never is it? They tell you kindness matters, that being good will get you somewhere. But have you ever noticed how the good ones always end up broken, used, forgotten? They preach love, patience, forgiveness, but when it comes down to it, they don't want kindness. They want convenience. They want someone they can shape, bend, twist into whatever suits them best. And the second you stop being useful, the second you stop fitting their mold, you're nothing to them. A relic, a mistake, a memory they don't even bother dusting off. So tell me, what's the point of playing their game if they never planned on letting you win? You think control is an illusion, don't you? That we're all just leaves in the wind, tossed around by fate, by chance. But that's another lie they fed you to keep you in line. Control is real, it's tangible, but only if you're willing to take it. Most people, they let life happen to them. They wait, they hope, they pray for something to change, and that's why they lose. That's why they're nothing more than background noise in someone else's story. You want control, you take it. You don't wait for someone to hand it to you, because they won't. No one gives you power. You seize it, you claw your way to it, you make it yours. And once you have it, you never, ever let it go. They'll call you selfish, they'll call you ruthless, they'll say you've lost your way. But the only people who talk like that are the ones who want to keep you weak. They want you pliable, malleable, easily swayed, because really strong people terrify them. They can't control them, can't predict them, can't mold them into something docile and obedient. And that's what they fear most, isn't it? Someone who doesn't need them, someone who doesn't seek their approval, their permission, someone who doesn't play their game at all. You ever notice how quick they are to call you crazy the second you stop letting them dictate who you are? They love that word, don't they? Crazy. Like it's some magic spell that strips you of your right to be heard. Crazy is just what they call people who see the world for what it really is. It's what they call those who refuse to be tamed, who refuse to be another cog in their rusted, rotting machine. They'll say you're out of control, say you've lost your mind, but what they really mean is that you've stepped outside the box they built for you, and that terrifies them. They want you predictable. Predictable means safe. Predictable means manageable. Predictable means they don't have to worry about what you'll do next. But what if you weren't predictable? What if you let go of every expectation, every little rule they've forced onto you? What if you stopped asking for permission and just took what you wanted? Think about it. Think about how the world would shift, how the power would tilt, how suddenly they wouldn't be so sure of themselves anymore. That's real power, not wealth, not fame, not empty titles or pretty words. Real power is the ability to make them tremble without lifting a finger, to walk into a room and make the air heavy weight of what they don't understand. You still think you need them, don't you? You still think if you play nice, if you give them what they want, they'll come around. They won't. They never do. You could give them everything, your time, your loyalty, your Suland. They'd still look at you like you were nothing more than an afterthought. They don't care. They never cared. And deep down you know that. You've always known that. But admitting it, that's the hard part, isn't it? Because once you admit it, you can't unsee it. Once you know the truth, you can't keep pretending. And pretending, that's all you've ever done. But no more. No more waiting. No more hoping. No more playing by rules designed to keep you small. You want something? Take it. You want respect? Demand it. You want to be feared? Become something worth fearing. Let them whisper. Let them stare. Let them call you whatever makes them sleep better at night. None of it matters. Because in the end, they don't get a say. They don't get to shape you, define you, decide what you can or cannot be. Only you do. And once you understand that, once you accept it, that's when everything changes. That's when you finally become free. But freedom is terrifying, isn't it? They don't tell you that part. They don't warn you about the silence, the weight of it, the way it demands more from you than servitude ever did. You see, being a pawn is easy. You don't have to think, don't have to choose. You just follow, obey, exist. But being free, that's something else entirely. Freedom means every step you take is yours. Every decision, every failure, every triumph, it's all yours. And that's what keeps most people chained. Not the world, not the rules, not the lies they've been fed, just fear. Fear of being responsible for themselves. Fear of stepping into the unknown. Fear of what happens when there's no one left to tell them what to do. But you're not most people, are you? No, you're something else entirely. Something they'll never understand, never control, never break. And that is why they fear you. That is why they whisper. That is why they try so hard to keep you in line. Because deep down they know. They know what you're capable of. They know what happens when someone like you stops holding back. And that is their greatest nightmare. They think they figured you out, don't they? Labeled you, categorized you, placed you neatly into a little box where they think you belong. That's what they do. That's what they always do. People are terrified of what they don't understand. So they try to shrink it down, make it fit into something they can process. But you don't fit, you never did. And that drives them insane. They want you to be predictable. They want you to be something they can explain, something they can define. Because as long as they can name you, they can control you. But what happens when you stop being something they recognize? What happens when you step beyond the boundaries they built for you and become something else entirely? They panic, they scramble. They lash out, call you dangerous, unstable, wrong. But here's the real question, wrong. By whose standards? Theirs? The same people who mold themselves into whatever shape suits the moment? The same ones who lie with a smile and pretend they don't see the knife in their own hands? Number no. They don't get to decide what's right and what's wrong. Not anymore. 'Cause that's what they never understood about you, isn't it? You never needed their approval. You played along, sure, for a while. You smiled when you were supposed to, nodded when it was expected, held your tongue when it would have been easier to burn the world down. But that was never who you were. That was just the mask you wore. And masks? Masks are meant to be taken off. You ever notice how the ones who preach the loudest about morality, about goodness, about doing the right thing, are the first to sink their teeth into you the second you refuse to kneel? They love to play the part of the righteous, the noble, the just. But the second you don't fall in line, the second you stop being a reflection of what they want to see, they turn, they snarl, they bare their teeth and show you exactly what they really are. And it's not pretty, is it? No, it's pathetic. Because deep down, they know that without their little charade, without their pretense, they're nothing. And you've always known that. That's why they hate you. That's why they fear you. Because you see them for what they are. You see the cracks in their porcelain faces, the rot beneath their carefully curated expressions. You see the way they flinch when someone refuses to buy into their illusion. And you stopped buying it a long time ago. So what now? Now that you've stripped them down to their core, now that you've torn away the veils they've spent their whole lives weaving, they'll call you the monster, the villain, the problem. Of course they will, because that's what cowards do. They point their trembling fingers and scream about how dangerous you are while they hide behind their paper shields, hoping no one notices they're the real danger. Let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them spin their little stories. Because the truth doesn't need to be shouted. The truth just is. And the truth is this: you don't need them. You never did. And that realization, that single unshakable fact, is what will keep them up at night, long after they've convinced themselves they've won. But they didn't win, did they? No, they only delayed the inevitable. They only bought themselves a few more moments of pretending they still have control. But control is a fragile thing. It slips, it crumbles, it dissolves the moment you stop believing in it. and you stopped believing a long, long time ago. So tell me, what comes next? The old you would have hesitated, would have wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was still a way to play nice, to fit in, to mold yourself into something a little more palatable. But that version of you is dead, buried, forgotten. The only thing that remains is the truth. And the truth is that you're free. And freedom is terrifying. Not for you. Oh no, not for you. You've been living in chains so long that freedom tastes like oxygen, like fire, like something you were always meant to have but never knew how to reach. No, it's them who should be afraid. Because now, there's nothing holding you back. No leash around your neck. No cage to keep you small. And that is the beginning of something they never saw coming. They'll tell you that freedom is a burden, that it's too heavy for most people to carry. And for them, that's true. They need their chains, their rules, their little systems that tell them what to do and when to do it. They need the comfort of being controlled, because it means they never have to take responsibility for themselves. If they fail, if they suffer, if their lives crumble into dust, they can always point to someone else and say, "It wasn't my fault." But you don't have that excuse anymore. You don't have the luxury of blaming anyone else for what comes next. And that terrifies them. Because if you can exist outside of their structure, if you can move without their permission, if you can rise without their approval, what does that say about them? What does that say about the lives they've built on lies and excuses? They'll tell you you're lost, that you've gone too far, that you're destroying yourself. But what they really mean is that they don't understand you anymore. They can't place you, can't predict you, can't mold you into something that makes sense to them. And that drives them insane. Because people like them, people who have never stood on their own, who have never had to carve themselves out of the wreckage of their own pain, they fear what they cannot define. And you are undefined. You are a force they cannot grasp, a presence they cannot ignore, a storm they cannot outrun. But you still hesitate, don't you? Not because you doubt yourself, no, not anymore, because there's still a part of you that wonders. Wonders if maybe, just maybe, there was another way. A way that didn't demand this much. A way that didn't require burning down every last remnant of who you used to be. Because there was comfort in that, wasn't there? Even in the pain, even in the betrayal, there was something familiar about it. And that's the hardest thing to let go of. Not the people, not the lies, but the familiarity. The way it wrapped around you like a suffocating embrace, whispering that at least you knew what to expect. At least you knew the pain, the rules, the limits. But you are not built for limits. You are not built to stay small, to stay contained, to be a version of yourself that makes them comfortable. You were never meant to be tamed. And now you've finally accepted that. They'll call you cold. They'll call you cruel. Let them choke on their own words while you rise higher than they ever thought possible. Let them watch as you walk away from the ashes they tried to bury you in. Unshaken, unstoppable. Because that's what true freedom is, isn't it? Not the absence of pain. Not the promise of an easy path. True freedom is knowing that no one owns you. Not them. Not their expectations. Not their whispered doubts or their desperate need to keep you bound to their world. You belong to yourself. And that is worth more than all the empty promises in the world. So what now? Now, you take what's yours. No hesitation, no guilt, no more looking back. And if they fear you, good. Let them. You feel it, don't you? The shift. The weight that was once pressing down on you is gone. And now there's only the vast, endless space of what comes next. It should be overwhelming. It should paralyze you, make you hesitate, make you question everything. That's what they expect. That's what they hope for. But it won't. Because hesitation is for the ones who still believe they have something to lose. And you lost everything the moment you opened your eyes and saw them for what they truly are. The moment you saw past the illusions, past the careful little games, past the smiles that never quite reached their eyes. That's when you stopped being one of them. That's when you stopped needing their permission to exist. And now, you are something they cannot fathom. You are not a victim. You are not a survivor. You are not some tragic figure clawing your way through the dirt, begging for scraps of meaning. You are something else entirely. Because most people, they only know how to live when someone tells them how. They follow the map, they walk the same tired roads, they live in the same cages built by the hands of those who came before them. And they call it life. They call it purpose. But you burned the map. You tore down the road. You shattered the cage and left nothing behind but dust and echoes of the person they thought you were. And now you decide what comes next. That's what they'll never understand, isn't it? That the moment you stop chasing their approval, the moment you stop playing by their rules, you became untouchable. They can't hurt you anymore. Not really. Because what can they take from someone who has already let go? They'll try, of course. They always do. They'll reach out with their trembling hands, grasping at the pieces of you they used to hold. But there's nothing left for them to take. Nothing left for them to twist, to manipulate, to shape into something that serves them. And that terrifies them. Because people like them, they don't understand strength unless it comes in the form of control. Power to them is not something you carry within yourself, it's something you hold over others. That's why they'll never be truly free. That's why they will always be weak. Because their strength is borrowed. Their power is an illusion built on the backs of those who still believe in the game. But you don't believe anymore, do you? No, You stopped believing the moment you realized the truth. The moment you saw that everything they built was made of glass, that one sharp edge, one decisive strike, could send it all crumbling. And now you have the blade in your hands. What happens next? They wonder that, they whisper about it, pretend they don't care, pretend they're not watching your every move, but they are. Oh, they are, because they need to know. They need to understand what you're going to do now that you no longer belong to them. Now that you are no longer predictable, are you going to disappear? Become something they never have to think about again? Number. No, that would be too easy. Because disappearing means they get to rewrite the story. It means they get to paint you as the one who faded, the one who couldn't handle the weight of your own defiance. And that is not how this ends. No, this ends with them watching. With them realizing too late that they were never the ones in control. That every time they pushed, every time they twisted the knife, every time they thought they were breaking you, they were only sharpening you. And now, here you are, untamed, unchained, unstoppable. And when they look at you, when they finally see you for what you've become, they will understand. They never had power over you. They never controlled you. They never owned you. And now they never will. You know what's funny? How they always talk about consequences like there's something meant only for you, never for them. Like the rules they love so much don't apply when they're the ones breaking them. They demand accountability, demand obedience, demand that you play along. But when it's their turn, silence, excuses, deflections. Because that's the difference between you and them, isn't it? You faced every consequence, every hardship, every failure, and you never looked away. You took every hit, every scar, and you didn't crumble under the weight of it. You stood, you endured, you learned, and now you're stronger than they ever wanted you to be. But them? They've spent their whole lives running, haven't they? Running from their own lies, their own weaknesses, their own fears. They build walls, cages, illusions, anything, to keep reality from catching up to them. And for a while, it worked. For a while, they convinced themselves they were untouchable, that they were in control, that they had already won. And then you changed the game. You stopped being the person they thought they could manipulate. You stopped being the one who bent, who yielded, who let them write the rules. And now they don't know what to do with you. You've seen it, haven't you? The way they look at you now, uncertain, wary, afraid. They don't recognize you anymore. You've become something else, something outside of their understanding. And nothing terrifies them more than something they can't control. But let's get something straight. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them an apology. You don't owe them a single second of your time. They spent years molding you into something convenient, something easy, something that made their lives simpler. And now they want to act surprised. when you finally broke free. Let them be surprised. Let them stare. Let them wonder what went wrong, as if the answer isn't staring them in the face. Because it was never you who was broken. It was never you who needed fixing. It was never you who was the problem. It was them. It was always them. They'll deny it, of course. They always do. They'll twist the story, rewrite the past, paint themselves as the victims. That's what cowards do. That's what weak people do. They can't face the truth, so they try to bury it, try to drown it in their own lies. But truth has a funny way of refusing to stay buried, doesn't it? Because no matter how much they try to twist the narrative, no matter how much they try to convince the world that they were the ones who suffered, the ones who were wronged, they know, deep down, they know. And that is the real punishment, not revenge. Not some dramatic act of payback. No, the real punishment is this, the weight of the truth pressing down on them, suffocating them, poisoning every little fantasy they tell themselves. Because they will never escape it. Not now. Not ever. They will wake up with it, sleep with it, carry it with them wherever they go. And no matter how much they try to drown it out, it will always be there. A shadow at the edge of their vision. A whisper in the back of their minds. A constant, unshakable reminder of everything they did. And you will keep moving forward. You will keep rising. You will keep becoming something greater than they ever imagined. And they will be left behind, lost in the ruins of the world they built for themselves. Because that's the thing about people like them, they think they're untouchable. They think they can build their lives on the backs of others and never have to pay the price. But everything catches up eventually. And for them, it already has.